That's right. Run, Olivia thought as she watched Beatrix race up the stairs of the Nevin mansion with the fervor Beatrix rarely let show. Olivia smiled to herself as she thought about how good it felt to finally take her revenge on Beatrix. If in this new life, I'm not purely just a queen of revenge, it is owed entirely to the love I feel for my dearest family and friends. Everyone I love in this life, they keep me human. Olivia thought to herself with peaceful, deep certainty. But if anyone dares to even try and touch any of them, I will not hesitate to tear them to shreds in a second. Olivia's thoughts were interrupted as she felt a pair of strong arms wrap around her from behind. She turned and felt Chris's lips against her cheek. "I don't like that look you get sometimes," Chris whispered in her ear as he hugged Olivia tightly. "When it happens, I feel like I don't recognize you. I don't know where it comes from, but it gives me this strange feeling that I might lose you at any time." Olivia took in Chris's words and felt a warm glow spread from her heart further out into her chest. She smiled softly and replied, "You will never lose me. I'm sorry it's been so hard recently." Chris reached out his hand and gently lifted Olivia's chin before he leaned in and kissed her. After a moment, he rested his forehead against hers. "I miss you so much." "Me too." Olivia lightly kissed Chris again. What began as a gentle peck quickly turned into a kiss filled with yearning, until suddenly, they were interrupted by a commotion from upstairs. "Hey!" a voice yelled. Chris looked up in the direction of the noise. "Looks like there's a big ruckus." "That's right," Olivia said as she leaned into Chris's arms. "A very big ruckus. And the bigger the better," she thought slyly to herself. "Can we just ignore it?" Chris pretended to beg. He much preferred to keep kissing Olivia, especially when they already knew what was going on upstairs. He missed her so much, and opportunities to be affectionate with her were rarer and rarer these days. "Guys, I know you miss each other, but you gotta cut that out right now," Morgana scolded. "Major things are going on, let's go." "You're right, let's go," Olivia answered. She quickly kissed Chris one more time, then turned to face Morgana. Morgana brought her palm to her face. "You guys are like 14-year-olds on a first date." Olivia smirked and grabbed Morgana's and Chris's hands to pull them up the stairs. They merged with the crowd that quickly flowed toward the room where the noise had come from. By the time they got upstairs, many people had gathered to watch the chaotic scene unfold in one particular room. "Get out of here! There's nothing to see! I said move!" Beatrix desperately barked at all of the guests who crowded around the room. Olivia, Chris, and Morgana snaked their way through the growing crowd of people towards Beatrix's voice. At last, they reached the open door to the room and were able to get a look inside. Olivia saw Jake standing there with a dumbstruck look on his face. There was a large bed with the blankets and sheets stripped off and messily tossed to the floor. A boy trembled in the corner and his face was pale with fear and confusion as he held himself protectively. Beatrix, whose eyes were red with rage, tightly hugged the unconscious Melanie Cooper, who had white powder smeared around her nose and mouth. Olivia took a moment to admire her team's handiwork in executing the plan. After Sven had procured the roofie Olivia asked for, they had used it to drug Melanie and move her upstairs, where the boy that Beatrix, Mark, and Jake had hired was waiting to stage an embarrassing scene. Of course, the boy did not know who this Millie was, that he was supposed to be embarrassing, or what she looked like. So when a drugged Melanie was brought to the room, he dutifully followed Beatrix, Jake, and Mark's plan. He set up the scene in the bedroom to make it look like he and Melanie did a considerable amount of drugs, thus the white powder smeared on Melanie's unconscious face. He got into the bed with her to make it look as though they were about to hook up when they accidentally got caught. It had all gone perfectly. "Wake up, Melanie!" Beatrix called out as she shook her sister and forcefully patted her face with her hand. She looked up and saw Olivia standing at the door with the gathered onlookers. Melanie mumbled for a moment and her eyes fluttered before she lost consciousness again. Olivia stared back at Beatrix coldly and conveyed a message with her eyes. "How does it feel?" Does it hurt to see someone you love in this situation you had planned for someone else who was completely innocent? Beatrix gritted her teeth angrily. She glared daggers at Olivia, and her thoughts turned even darker. Damn you, Olivia. I will never stop until I get you for this, even if it kills me. Big sister, Melanie mumbled. I feel so hot. Melanie began to paw at her clothes, trying to rip them off herself. It's okay, Beatrix replied sweetly, holding her sister's hands in her own. You're fine. I will get you home. Melanie's head slumped against Beatrix's shoulder. I don't know what I took. I feel hot and cold at the same time. I don't know. It's all right, Beatrix repeated with a smile, but her voice trembled. I'm taking you home, and you'll be fine once we get there. Everything will be fine, I promise. Melanie kept her eyes closed, but she spoke again. I came out of the bathroom. I don't remember anything after that. By the time I woke up again, I was already in this room. I was in bed with that boy. I don't know him. I told him to stop, but he stayed there. He said he could not stop. I was so confused. Then I heard your voice. It sounded like a lot of people were around, so many people. I wanted to move, but I couldn't. Beatrix felt tears threaten to fall from her eyes, but she refused to show weakness in front of Olivia. Melanie continued weakly. And then you were here to protect me. I feel safe now that you're here, but I still feel like I'm floating in the sky. It doesn't feel real. Melanie trailed off as she shivered. Beatrix reached over and grabbed the blanket cast off on the floor. She draped it around Melanie to help warm her. As Olivia watched the scene unfold, she could not help but briefly wonder if they had done the right thing. She imagined the devastation she would feel if it was her holding Millie in front of the crowd, desperately trying to revive her and get her out. Then Olivia remembered. It was supposed to be Millie in this humiliating trap. She remembered that they had successfully drugged Millie that very night, and she now urgently needed medical attention. Olivia also recalled all of the horrors that Melanie and Beatrix put herself and her friends through in her past life, not to mention this current one. The more she thought about it, the brighter the fire of rage and desire for revenge burned within her. Olivia knew deep in her heart that both Beatrix and Melanie deserved this comeuppance, and probably deserved worse. These were some of the most sinister people Olivia had ever met, and when it came to them, it was kill or be killed. Olivia knew all too well from experience that she could show no weakness or mercy, because it would only open her friends up to grave danger. Let's get you home, Beatrix said as she hoisted Melanie up. She walked out of the room with her sister draped over her shoulder, and the crowd silently parted to make room for them. Olivia, just you wait, Beatrix said in a low, deadly voice as she passed Olivia. Don't worry, I will. Olivia smiled back at Beatrix. Beatrix carried her sister Melanie out of the room and made her way down the hall. Olivia watched them go with a cold gaze. I waited a very long time for this, she thought. Beatrix? Brett exclaimed at the sight of his older daughter supporting Melanie's weight as they hobbled through the party. He suddenly found himself in a daze, and he could not make sense of what he saw. His mind went blank. How did this happen? What even happened exactly? Beatrix passed by her father and glared at him with deep disdain and revulsion. At that moment, thunder boomed, followed by a bolt of lightning that ripped through the sky and illuminated Beatrix's face through the window. For a fleeting few seconds, she appeared to have the face of a sinister demon. Her wicked, ghostly appearance haunted her father deep in his soul, and he staggered backward out of her way. Beatrix carried Melanie all the way out of the Nevin family mansion. The moment she stepped outside, the storm that the weather forecast had predicted finally arrived. Lightning struck again, but Beatrix did not falter. Her heart turned to ice, and she purposefully marched away down the street. The two sisters disappeared into the distance, accompanied by the sound of thunder, and filled with fantasies of revenge. As the thunder boomed through the sky, the mood in the Nevin household quickly turned from joyous to sinister. Olivia stood in front of the huge window on the second floor, looking into the rainy, distant night. Lightning flashed, but she did not flinch. Her gaze was bone-chillingly cold as she watched the two sisters disappear into the rainy night. Olivia returned to the room Beatrix and Melanie had just exited. A flash caught her eye, and she squatted at the floor of the bed, picking up a silver tray. White powder was sprinkled all over it, and all over the bed and floor where it had fallen. Sven frowned, looking up at Olivia. Lightning flashed again. The ferocity of the bolts and its deafening thunder matched the vicious look in Olivia's face. It seemed like the storm could have come from her anger itself. Chris furrowed his brow, watching Sven. "What are you thinking?" Sven stood by Chris's side. "I assume it's cocaine. They were probably trying to get as much into her as possible for either an overdose, to get her in trouble, to get her addicted, or a combination." Sven pulled out a small, sleek little case from inside his jacket pocket. He opened the case and removed a test strip, then pushed it into one of the piles of powder. As Sven and Chris watched the test strip change color, both of their eyes widened. Sven's jaw dropped. "What is it?" Olivia asked in a low, flat voice. Morgana watched them all in shock. Sven spoke slowly in disbelief. "I'll test again, but I think it's cyanil." Sven shook his head. "I didn't even think it was in the U.S. yet. Definitely not in New York. If I didn't know it was here, that's a huge problem." Chris looked at Olivia, his eyes full of concern. "It's way more addictive than cocaine and way more likely to kill you. They really didn't want to leave this up to chance. It's devastating entire countries on the other side of the world." Sven shook his head. "Allegedly, this drug eats holes in your brain. There's no treatment for an overdose. To give this to someone who didn't know..." Sven was speechless. "That is how vicious Beatrix is." Olivia's voice had an edge like a knife. A bolt of lightning exploded outside again, closer this time. The thunder shook the windows. Olivia continued. "Not only did Beatrix want to destroy Millie's reputation, she wanted to make her addicted to this powerful unknown drug. She wanted to ruin her life, to live in ruin and regret forever. It's insidious. It's inhumane." Olivia did not say this to her friends, but in her mind, all of her retribution would be exacted on Melanie Cooper. Olivia wanted to see Melanie befall the same fate that Beatrix had wished on Millie. Olivia knew that Beatrix cared for Melanie, possibly more than anyone else in the world. She wanted Beatrix to suffer while she watched her sister suffer, and she wanted it to happen for a long time. Morgana's jaw was tight. "You're right. It really is vicious." Her eyes widened as she suddenly looked straight at Olivia. "What happened to Millie? Where is she?" "Camilla and Cameron sent her to the hospital," Olivia replied, her voice still cold. "Oh." Morgana nodded, and then something new occurred to her. She inhaled sharply. "I am getting the eerie feeling like I have forgotten something important." Olivia's eyes widened. "You know, now that you say that, I think that I also have forgotten something, but I can't remember what it was." "Oh no." Morgana frowned and tapped her forehead. Come on, what was it?" Sven rubbed his temple and turned to Chris with a serious expression. "Chris, if there isn't anything else, I'll head back now." Both of them knew that everything circulating on the black market was Sven's purview. Since he had unified all of the traders doing business on it, it was a huge problem that he was not aware that cyanil had been introduced in New York. It also was a huge problem for everyone in the country. Sven had to figure out how such a dangerous drug had appeared here. Chris nodded and grunted in assent. You can head back now." "Okay," Sven replied. "Olivia, I'm leaving now. Is there anything else I can do for you first?" Olivia was trying to remember the things she'd forgotten and just waved her hand at Sven, unconcerned. Why don't I remember at all, even though I know there was something? Olivia worried silently to herself. Sven muttered to himself on the way out. I have to pay that guy for the rushed order of roofies, that frickin' creep. Olivia and Morgana suddenly raised their heads up and looked straight at one another. They each remembered simultaneously. Wait, Sven! Morgana grabbed Sven by the arm desperately. Give us the pills. What? Sven was surprised. Olivia opened her hands to him, gesturing desperately. Quick, quick, quick. There's leftovers, right? Give me one, please. Sven nodded and pulled out a small black plastic bottle. There were 3 round pills inside. Morgana snatched the bottle from Sven. Give it to me. She poured the pills out into her hand and stuffed them into Olivia's open mouth. Chris was frozen, wide-eyed. What's the matter with both of you? Sven cried. He reached out, wanting to stop her, but Olivia had already swallowed them. 3 pills? She's going to die. Spit them out. Chris was still frozen. Olivia, what are you doing? He felt his heart clench in his chest. Morgana slapped Sven's hands away from Olivia. Don't touch her. Both of you get away. She pulled Olivia a few steps away from them. Olivia was still trying to fully swallow the 3 pills, which had gotten caught in her throat on the way down. She patted her chest a few times before finally feeling the relief of them making it down to her stomach. Olivia was most worried that, in all of the other horrible things happening, they had forgotten about the timing and were too late. Morgana, did we make it? Do you know if we did it in time? She knew she only had 2 hours from the time she had ingested the insect Morgana had given her to reverse the effects of Rohypnol. If any more time had passed, the insect would turn to poison, and Olivia would die. Morgana immediately took out her phone. Let me see. She read the time on her screen and exhaled a huge sigh of relief. She passed the phone to Olivia. Oh my God, we made it. It was right on time. We literally didn't even have a minute to spare. I would have had no other options, Olivia. Olivia breathed heavily, the weight of a near miss with death feeling like it was sitting on her chest. But she didn't have too long to focus on that, because a sudden sharp pain in her stomach made her double over. She cried out, Oh no, something's wrong. Morgana calmly patted Olivia's back. No, it's fine. This is how it's supposed to go. It's going to get pretty painful to get that insect to come out. Just remember that you'll be okay. Ah! Olivia shouted as the pain intensified. Chris and Sven watched in horror from the side of the room, still completely confused. Olivia felt her whole body heat up like she just stepped into a dry sauna. She was about to tell Morgana this when a wave of chills felt like they crusted her body over with ice, radiating out from her stomach. She felt like all the blood in her body had frozen and every pore was breathing out cold air. Olivia tightly hugged herself and her teeth started chattering. Morgana sighed lightly, finding this all very routine. Just hang on, it'll be over very soon. She kept lightly patting Olivia's back. Olivia stammered through her chattering teeth. Mm-hmm. She got that sound out. Her body was once again stricken with the blast of heat. Her skin flushed red and beads of sweat popped out over her forehead and the tip of her nose. A drop was about to fall from her nose when the cold rushed back, more intense even than before. Sven and Chris watched in shock as her lips and ears started to turn blue. Her flushed skin turned from red to gray. Olivia! Chris cried out. He wanted to trust Olivia and Morgana, but he couldn't stand seeing Olivia suffer this way. His heart ached. Morgana waved Chris away, preemptively shooing him. It's fine, don't worry, it'll be over very soon. And she'll be alive, right? Sven asked. Of course she'll be alive, Morgana replied, offended. Olivia gritted her teeth and held on. After a few more rounds of intense temperature changes, Olivia felt nausea sicken her, her stomach twisted, wanting to eject its contents. She bent over a wastebasket and vomited. She recognized her food from the party earlier in the night, the wine, and... Oh no, Morgana muttered. Oh no! Olivia, Chris, and Sven shouted in unison. Why oh no? Chris demanded. What's wrong? Morgana scratched her head as Olivia remained bent over the wastebasket. Well, there's supposed to be something else in there, and I don't see it. Olivia's eyes fluttered as Chris Sven and Morgana stared at her worried. Would she survive this? Morgana held her breath as she watched Olivia, the fear escalating behind her eyes. Chris could feel his heart speed as he waited for something, although what he was waiting for, he was still not sure. Olivia wavered, barely able to stay on her feet. She dropped down to her knees, bent over the wastebasket. Sven covered his mouth and took a step back as Chris lunged forward. Olivia! Come on, Morgana muttered. Just as Chris reached Olivia, her eyes shot open and she vomited into the wastebasket once again. In the basket, they could all see a disgusting, finger-sized worm that wriggled frantically. All right, you did it! Morgana cheered, patting Olivia's back, as Chris, Olivia, and Sven all reacted in horror. We're officially out of the woods, Morgana announced, relieved. You spit out the poison worm. Poison worm? Chris yelled as Olivia collapsed into Morgana's arms. Why is Olivia poisoned with a worm? I did it, Morgana said matter-of-factly, but it was her idea. Morgana saw that Chris and Sven were still confused. She told them everything that had happened before Chris arrived at the party. Olivia ate a worm that would protect her from Rohypnol, but kill her if she did not take Rohypnol. When she explained that Chris knocked over the glass that they believed to be drugged, Chris's expression immediately turned grief-stricken. Chris shook his head. No wonder Olivia was so mad at me before. I put her in danger. I know, right? Morgana cradled Olivia. Anyway, now it's not a big deal. Olivia's skin began to return to its normal color. Chris knelt down beside Olivia and Morgana. He hugged Olivia and she put her arms around him. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Morgana whispered to herself. I always love to hear a man apologize. As Chris kept hugging Olivia, Morgana looked around the room and stretched. Let's get out of here when we can. I don't like this room. Just weird vibes. Olivia weakly nodded. Yeah. Outside the room, the hallway was empty of partygoers, except for Mark DeLillo, who carefully stayed just out of sight at the side of the open door, listening in and stealing peeks when he could get away with it. As soon as he heard Morgana explain Olivia's experience with a seemingly magical worm, he covered his mouth in disbelief. His eyes were wide and his entire concept of reality had been turned upside down. This girl is some kind of a bug witch? Mark thought silently to himself in terror. This random high school girl who's always by Olivia's side. She's been dangerous this whole time? Mark was also distressed that the drugs they had tried to give Millie were some outrageous new substance. He had simply thought that they were using low-grade cocaine, and only in order to make it look like she had been using the drug, not to actually get her to ingest it. That was not their original plan. Mark cursed Beatrix Cooper. She's so ruthless. He wanted to yell. How dare she make changes and not tell me about them? What the hell was she thinking? Hearing that Olivia and her friends were preparing to leave, Mark quietly left the hallway. At the stairs, he saw that all of the guests had packed into the main hall because of the rain. On his way down the steps, he tried his best to adjust his breathing to a normal pace and make his expression look relaxed. He prayed he could keep thoughts of the literal witch upstairs and the discovery of the deadly drug out of his mind. Jake spotted Mark and hurried over. Mr. DeLillo. He looked pale as a sheet. He pulled Mark aside and asked in a fierce whisper, How could this have happened? Why was Melanie Cooper in danger? It makes no sense. And what about Beatrix Cooper? How could it be? Shut up, Mark replied sharply. What's done is done. We can't talk about this here. Stop it. Jake's mouth fell open in indignation. What? How dare you talk to me that way? With everything Mark had heard that evening, he could not stand to listen to Jake Nevin's nonsense anymore. He took a deep breath and said in a low voice, Jake, listen carefully. Beatrix is working with us. What happened tonight was totally an accident. Olivia plotted against us and succeeded. Jake gasped. It was Olivia again? It's always her, that reckless hag. Mark knew that Jake would be easy to convince, but he expected he would have to elaborate at least a bit more than that. Jake, I have something important to tell you right now. He moved closer to Jake's face and spoke even lower. You need to get rid of the drugs in that bedroom right now. There is a drug residue in the room, and if word got out that it's here, that would be the end of the entire Nevin family name. What? Jake was stunned. Why would there be drugs in the Nevin family house? Mark waved his hand. I can't explain that right now. Also, the man that was used in the plan must be disappeared immediately. Jake nodded. Yes, I know what to do. Mark turned to leave. Great. I have to go. Wait! Jake stopped him, confused. That's all the explanation you're going to give me? Mark grabbed Jake's tuxedo jacket, gripping it tightly enough that he startled Jake. I told you. He gritted his teeth. There's no time to explain. I will tell you everything later. It took every bit of restraint Mark possessed not to punch Jake in the face. He couldn't believe he was working with such an idiot. Jake's eyes were wide with fear. He'd never been handled by Mark that way. All right, fine. Very good. Mark released Jake's jacket, patted it smooth, and walked out. As soon as Mark walked out into the rain, a black car pulled up to the entrance. He got into the car. At that same time, Olivia, Morgana, Chris, and Sven made their way downstairs. Out a window, Olivia saw the black car leaving and narrowed her eyes. She had a bad feeling about that car and its passenger. What's wrong? Morgana asked, seeing Olivia pause. She'd been keeping a close eye on Olivia, but she was able to walk normally. Olivia shook her head and smiled at Morgana. Nothing, I think I'm just a little tired. That makes sense, Morgana sighed. Let's go. We can stop by the hospital to see Millie and then head home. Okay, Olivia nodded. Morgana, Chris, and Sven watched in amazement as Olivia was able to put on a cheerful, polite voice to say a nice goodbye and thank you to Grandpa Nevin. As soon as the group left the manor, she let her body relax into its exhaustion again. Their 2 town cars approached the entrance as they walked out. Sven turned to Chris. You can go with Olivia and the others. I'll head back first and meet up with you later. Chris nodded, hesitating slightly. He knew what Sven had to attend to was dangerous business. All right, be careful. Sven smirked to hide his apprehension. If you come back tonight, bring me some dinner. I'll be up late. He knew he had a long night ahead of him. Okay, Chris nodded. I'll be back as soon as possible. Bye-bye. Sven waved to all of them. Bye, Livy. Bye, Morgana. Bye, Morgana's bugs. Sven got into the first car and left. Olivia, Chris, and Morgana climbed into theirs, with Olivia and Chris beside each other in the back seat. Olivia frowned at Sven's disappearing car out her window. Sven looked very serious, she said to Chris. Chris sighed and put his arm around Olivia's shoulder. He was very serious. He has a lot to deal with regarding that drug we found. But you don't have to worry. You went through a lot tonight. Lean on me and sleep while we drive. Olivia's eyelids did feel heavy. That's a good idea, she said, her breathing slowing. She had seen Morgana use insects before, but having it in her own body, that feeling would be unforgettable. It was terrifying. Olivia remembered sleepily that Morgana had said this was the simplest and easiest poison insect to cure, and the one with the least pain. Olivia could not imagine how it got rougher than what she had experienced. Olivia thought of how scared she was when she was looking for Millie. She felt a pang of guilt about finding a new blind spot in her mind-reading power. When she was in a state of extreme panic, it was very difficult for her to use her ability freely. It seemed that if she wanted to read other people's minds, she needed to be able to keep herself calm. Olivia did not like to rely too much on her mind reading. It felt like a violation of their privacy, so she only wanted to use it to protect herself. Olivia gradually fell asleep amidst the white noise of the road and the raindrops pattering against the car. Chris looked at her sleeping face, his brow slightly furrowed. His heart ached for her. He gently kissed her forehead, wishing he could carefully hold her in his palm and protect her from any more suffering and all of her enemies. But he could not do that. Chris knew that Olivia was already incredible and so accomplished, so she was destined to become even greater. If he were to try to diminish her to protect her, it was very likely that he would mess up some aspect of the amazing future that she had in store. As much as he wanted to save her from any harm that would come her way, he knew he could not do anything to ruin her future. Erica Cooper was just sitting down to a cup of hot tea when Beatrix suddenly burst through the front door of the house, carrying Melanie in her arms. The two girls were soaked by the rain from the storm that still roared outside. They stood there for a moment as Beatrix caught her breath, dripping all over the marble floors. Erica shot to her feet, dropping her teacup to the floor where it shattered across the marble. "My God, Beatrix! What happened to you both? What's wrong with Melanie?" Beatrix left the huge front door open behind her, swaying in the wind. She did not respond to her mother, instead carrying Melanie through the living room, her gaze straight ahead. A trail of rainwater followed behind her as Erica blinked and sputtered, What, Beatrix, what is it?" Beatrix carried Melanie step by step up the stairs. Melanie stirred, her teeth chattering. "Bea, I'm so cold." Beatrix just kept carrying her up. "It's okay now. You're okay, we're home." Erica stood at the bottom of the stairs. "Beatrix! Melanie, come back here!" Beatrix continued to ignore her, having dealt with enough idiocy for one night. Her only focus was to help Melanie. Anything else she considered a hindrance. Erica was desperate to know what was going on with her daughter, but at the same time she was terrified to find out. Erica tried to hurry up the stairs behind the girls, but slipped in the puddles of water left in Beatrix's wake. She cried out as her knees hit the hard marble stairs. She sucked air sharply in through her teeth and felt a burning pain. She looked down and saw the blood was already seeping through the front of her dress. Erica stood and staggered up the stairs, chasing after Beatrix. "Beatrix, what exactly happened? You have to tell me. I'm your mother. Is she dead?" She was only answered by a loud bang upstairs as a door slammed shut. Erica hurried to the closed door and raised her fist to knock, but suddenly stopped herself. She took a step back, slipping in another puddle and falling to the floor once again. How could everything be so messed up? Erica thought desperately to herself. What happened? Why won't Beatrix tell me? Was it that bad? Erica stood, gulped, and knocked at the shut door. "Beatrix, it's your mother. What happened? Tell me, please. Don't scare Mommy." From inside the bedroom, Beatrix coldly glanced in the direction of the door as her mother pounded on it. She hugged Melanie tightly to her and carried her into the bathroom. Her arms burned from carrying her up from the car and up the stairs, but she placed her into the bathroom as gently as a doll. Melanie's head leaned lightly against the edge of the tub. Beatrix removed the shower head from its cradle, adjusted the temperature, and let the water flow over Melanie's body and her dress. She could see that Melanie's veins were bulging under her skin. Is this from the drug they gave her? Beatrix wondered silently. Beatrix flashed back to earlier that evening, rushing into the room and seeing that boy force drugs on Melanie. As soon as she took in the scene, Beatrix had shoved him aside, but she was too late. Seeing her beautiful, innocent young sister force-fed drugs, Beatrix's heart was in so much pain. It was like she'd been deeply pierced by a venom that pumped throughout her entire body. She herself felt cold and nauseous. She had chills that spread from the bottom of her heart. As she slowly warmed Melanie's body with the water, Beatrix asked softly, "Are you feeling any better, Melanie?" Melanie's eyes were closed. She nodded. "Yeah, it's very warm." Beatrix whispered to her, holding her hair. "Don't be afraid. I'll call a doctor over soon. Please, just don't be afraid. You will be fine." The corner of Melanie's mouth raised slightly. "I'm not afraid. You're all right, Bea. I knew. Beatrix tilted her head. "What did you know?" Melanie opened her eyes slightly and looked at Beatrix. "I knew you would come and save me. I knew you would come. Beatrix felt like the wind had been knocked out of her. Her whole body froze when she heard how much Melanie trusted her. Ever since she had found Melanie in that room, the idea that this had been her fault haunted Beatrix. If she hadn't come up with the plan in the first place, Olivia never would have been able to switch out Millie with her little sister. Melanie's eyes fluttered, but she tried to make eye contact with Beatrix. "Bea, I was really scared, but you came. You got rid of him and you came." With a clatter, the shower head in Beatrix's hand fell into the bathtub. She leaned forward and put her arms around her sister, firmly hugging Melanie, and her tears would not stop flowing. "I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry." Repeating her apology over and over again, Beatrix's entire body was trembling. "I'm sorry." Melanie was stunned. This was the first time she'd ever seen her sister lose control of her emotions in this way. "Beatrix, it's fine. I don't feel any pain. Really, it doesn't hurt at all." But Beatrix just hugged her tighter, repeating, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry." She felt like she had failed Melanie when she trusted her so much. She had gone too late. She hadn't stopped him. If she had arrived a little earlier, just a little bit earlier, Melanie would not have had the drug in her body. It would have been so much better if she had arrived earlier. Beatrix's mind filled with hatred, a true, searing hatred. She wished Melanie had not come home today, or at least not been present at the Nevin party. Beatrix had a bad feeling as soon as she saw Melanie arrive earlier that night. Everything would have been different if Beatrix had just steeled her heart and forced Melanie to leave. She never should have been there in the first place. She hated her father, Brett, who brought Melanie to that party. She hated him. She hated herself. And she hated Olivia even more. Melanie frowned, then clutched at Beatrix's arm. "Bea, I don't feel right. Something is weird." Melanie felt her breathing and her pulse becoming very rapid. Her tears kept flowing and she felt stricken with a sort of fear, like she was being chased by something scary. Melanie started trembling. Bea, there are bugs all over me. They're biting me, Bea." Beatrix blinked in confusion, pulling back from her sister, but she did not see anything. Besides the dark veins in Melanie's skin, she couldn't see anything resembling an insect. But Melanie's panic only increased. Beatrix, hurry and get the bugs off me. Help me catch the bugs. They're biting me, Bea. Beatrix hugged Melanie, trying to restrain her from hurting herself, and pressed her head against Melanie's neck. She tightly clenched her teeth, understanding Melanie's pain but feeling powerless to help her. Melanie writhed, trying to break free from Beatrix's grasp. "Bea, it's burning. I feel so hot all over. Bea, I'm burning. My skin is going to burn off." Melanie's face turned pale as a ghost. She clutched at her own skin. "Bea, it hurts so bad I can't take it anymore." Beatrix just hugged her tighter. "Just take it for a little while. It will end. It won't be forever, and you can take it, Melanie." Melanie screamed and struggled against Beatrix's embrace. "It hurts so much, Bea. Why aren't you helping me? Bea, it hurts so bad, and something is biting me. I have to get them off." Beatrix shut her eyes tight, unable to bear one more second of seeing Melanie writhe in pain. Melanie continued to scream. "Bea, I'm so hot. So hot it's burning. My legs are on fire. My body is on fire. I'm so hot. So hot." Melanie twisted her body. "It hurts so much that I just want to die. Let me die. Let me die. Stop biting me. I'm begging you. Let me die." Every word was like a knife that plunged into Beatrix's flesh. She held on tight, crying, as Melanie's screaming gradually lost steam and volume. Finally, she was only whispering, though her voice was hoarse. She started to tremble again. "Bea, I'm cold." Her teeth chattered. "I'm so cold. Help me." Beatrix hugged Melanie tightly to her. "Are you feeling better, Melanie?" Melanie closed her eyes, whispering, "Bea, let me die. It hurts so much." Her entire face was pale. "Just let me die." Beatrix shook her head. I won't, Melanie. You're staying here with me. You can take it. You can handle this. I know you can. No. Melanie suddenly opened her eyes and started to struggle fiercely. With one strong push, she abruptly shoved Beatrix away, but the force made her fall backward and hit her head hard on the tile around the bathtub. Melanie! Beatrix screamed. After Melanie's head hit the wall, her eyes rolled back and she sank into the bathtub. Her whole body was submerged in the bathtub. Blood began to blossom in the water around Melanie. Melanie! Beatrix cried again as she hurriedly pulled Melanie up and reached out to cover her wound. Erica was still kneeling outside Beatrix's door and became even more alarmed to hear Beatrix scream this time. She pounded on the closed door in front of her. Beatrix? She shouted. What happened? Quickly tell me what happened. Call a doctor! Call a doctor! Beatrix screamed and hugged Melanie tightly. You can't die, she whispered to her sister, her whole voice shaking. Open your eyes. You can't die. You can't die. No matter what, she would not let Melanie Cooper die. Olivia, Chris, and Morgana hurried into the hospital, frantically trying to get their bearings. Olivia fumed as she went on a rant. I can't believe Beatrix would stoop so low. To concoct such a dangerous and petty plot just to harm Millie of all people? Millie, who's probably the sweetest girl I know. Not probably, she is the sweetest girl I know. She doesn't deserve to be here. Beatrix has no limits to how low she's willing to stoop. Morgana chimed in, her tone bitter. She's grimy and will do anything for revenge. It's disgusting. Even I can't get behind a plan this vindictive. Olivia sighed. I'm just grateful I put the pieces together in time to help Millie. If we'd been any slower, who knows what might have happened. Pulling out her phone, Olivia dialed Camilla Pell's number. Camilla, where are you? She asked as soon as the call connected. Camilla's voice came through the phone. I just left the hospital. I was feeling like a third wheel since Cameron was being all couple-like with Millie. I hate that, but anyways, Millie's in room 313. Okay, thanks. Stay safe, Camilla, Olivia said before she ended the call. Camilla chuckled lightly. Olivia, I'm always safe. I am the danger. Olivia pocketed her phone and turned back to Chris and Morgana. Millie's in room 313. Let's go. The three of them quickly headed off towards Millie's room. The three moved swiftly through the hospital corridors, when suddenly they ran directly into Lena, who helped to hold Francis up as he limped through the hall. Both groups stopped abruptly, confusion evident on their faces. The group exchanged bewildered looks. Olivia, trying to make sense of the situation, asked, Are you here to see Millie? Simultaneously, Lena asked, Are you here to see Francis? Everyone exclaimed in unison. Wait, what? Morgana, trying to bring some order to the chaotic conversation, interjected. Okay, this is confusing. Let's do this one at a time. Olivia quickly launched into an explanation. After you left Georgina's birthday party, it became obvious that Mark and Beatrix were up to something, which is clearly why they wanted me there in the first place. Morgana chimed in. We thought they were trying to spike Olivia's drink, so we came up with a plan to fool them using one of my bugs. It prevents the effects of a spiked drink. Olivia took the bug, and we thought we were going to get the last laugh as they waited for Olivia to seem drunk and incoherent. Olivia continued, But I was wrong. They weren't after me. Well, they were, but in a far more insidious way. Lena and Francis's head bopped back and forth as they tried to follow the story. We quickly realized that Millie was missing. She just disappeared from the party, almost out of thin air, and it sent us into a panic. Olivia continued. Morgana, excited by the retelling, burst out. We managed to find Millie, and thanks to Olivia's quick thinking, we were able to get her to safety. And let's just say, Beatrix got what she deserved. Lena, her concern evident, asked frantically, Is Millie okay? I can't believe she was roofied. I should have been there. What kind of roommate am I if I'm not making sure she's okay? Olivia quickly went to calm Lena down and replied, We think she should be fine, but we're heading up to see her now. Lena's face fell, guilt washing over her. I can't believe I wasn't there for her. I should have been there for her. Don't feel guilty about anything, okay? No one should feel guilt. No one but that snake, Beatrix. Olivia reassured her. Francis, shaking his head in disbelief, added, I can't believe something like this happened to Millie of all people. Olivia looked down, feeling her own sense of guilt begin to bubble up. Just then, she thought of something. Wait, you asked if we were here to visit Francis. What happened to you? Lena and Francis exchanged a flustered glance, both turning a shade of pink. They began to speak. Well, that is to say, we came because, Lena stammered. Yeah, you see, we just thought we should, check on something or someone, something. Francis stuttered. Morgana looked at the duo in utter confusion. Are you two malfunctioning? Is that what couples do now? Chris, amused, said, as someone who's in a relationship currently, I really, really hope that's not what happens with couples when they become one. Morgana laughed. I think this is your future because right now it seems like Lena and Francis share a brain. Speak English, you two, Olivia interjected, trying to get a straight answer. Lena and Francis exchanged another look inside. Francis, looking a bit embarrassed, began his explanation. So you remember how I picked Lena up to carry her out of the party, to be romantic and manly? Well, about a block away, I suddenly felt this crazy, intense pain in my back. It was like nothing I've ever felt before. It was sharp, shooting through my spine like lightning. Lena interjected. He was trying to look like some big, strong macho man, but then he just collapsed in pain and dropped me. I hit the ground face first onto the cold concrete while Francis screamed like a little girl. Francis muttered under his breath, I was just trying to be romantic. Lena rolled her eyes. Not really romantic or manly, since I ended up face planting on the concrete. But I guess the thought was sweet? Francis continued. I tried to get up, thinking it was just a spasm or something. But then there was even more pain, like my back was on fire and being twisted at the same time. Lena took over. I realized how serious it was, so I picked him up and we had to come to the hospital. Francis, trying to salvage his pride, said, and that's when the doctor told us I experienced a very serious athletic injury. You know, the kind tough guys get? He told me that typically the people who get injured like this are wrestlers and pro football players. Lena couldn't help but roll her eyes again. He threw his back out like an 80-year-old man after carrying me one block. More like a really, really, really athletic 80-year-old man, Francis retorted. Olivia, Chris, and Morgana couldn't help but laugh at Francis's expense. Chris teased, maybe we should hit the gym together, Francis. Work on that core strength. You can start off light. I have 10-pound dumbbells. Francis, trying to defend his pride, insisted, I work out. I can lift so much. I'm strong. It was just a weak moment, that's all. Olivia joined in the teasing. Looks like Lena's the strong one in the relationship. Guess you'll be doing all the heavy lifting, huh, Lena? I have no other choice. My man has a weak back, Lena said as she joined in on the laughter. Francis tried to defend himself. No, I'm strong, really. It was just, an off day. Chris teased Olivia. You're lucky, You got yourself a strong man. Someone who can lift you up without breaking his back. Someone that can keep you safe and make sure you never have to walk again. Olivia retorted, I'd prefer a man who can carry emotional baggage instead of me. I'm quite comfortable with my feet on the ground, thank you very much. Undeterred, Chris boasted, I'm a man who can carry everything. Emotional baggage, physical baggage, you name it, I'm the guy for it. And luckily for you, I'm your guy. Olivia smirked. Of course you'd believe that. Chris continued, my strength paired with how well proportioned we are will really come in handy when we finally, become one on the regular. Olivia's eyebrows shot up in surprise. Become one? What exactly do you mean by that? Chris, with a suggestive raise of his eyebrow, looked at Olivia, knowing he didn't have to explain. Morgana couldn't hide her disgust. Gross, Chris. Yuck, yuck, yuck. Everyone needs to stay as individuals. No becoming one or whatever you couples do. Morgana turned and walked off. The group, chuckling at Morgana's reaction, followed her up to Millie's room. As they reached the hospital room, Olivia softly knocked on the door. Moments later, Cameron eased the door open. His usual confident demeanor was replaced by a more sheepish look. As the group entered the room, they noticed Millie looking somewhat embarrassed. Millie seemed to be hastily wiping away the last traces of tears. Olivia observed the scene as her mind tried to piece everything together. Millie's trying to hide that she's been crying, and Cameron, he looks shy, which isn't like him at all. What on earth was going on in here before we walked in? Inside the Cooper mansion, a dark energy permeated through the home. After begging at the door to her daughter's room, Erica was finally granted access to see Melanie. Beatrix rolled her eyes in exasperation as she opened the door of Melanie's room and stepped outside to address her mother. Her voice remained even as she spoke. "We called a doctor for Melanie. He's seen her right now." Erica tried to express her gratitude. "Beatrix, thank you for opening the door for me. Beatrix cut her off. "I still don't want to talk to you. This isn't about us. It's about Melanie now." Erica, undeterred, pressed on. "I do care about you both, Beatrix, you and Melanie. I know you think I'm not a good mother, and maybe I haven't been the best mom to you, but being a Cooper..." Without missing a beat, Beatrix finished Erica's sentence. "Is hard. Being a Cooper is hard, and I know just how hard it is because of you. I know how selfish it is, and I know how slimy it is because of you." Erica attempted to defend herself. "I don't know what to do or how to navigate any of this. It's not like there's a manual on being a Cooper. It's not something I wanted to be either, not like this. Beatrix's response was cutting. "The only thing Melanie and I can do is get the hell away from all the other Coopers, and that includes you." Erica's face fell at Beatrix's harsh words. Internally, Erica clung to a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, I can get Beatrix to understand me better, to see that I'm trying despite everything. Her thoughts were abruptly interrupted by the doctor clearing his throat. Beatrix and Melanie turned their attention to the doctor as he approached them. "I'm just finishing up the exam. If you'd like, you can come talk to her now," the doctor informed them. Nodding, Beatrix and Melanie followed the doctor to Melanie's bedside, where she was sitting up in bed, falling in and out of sleep as the doctor stepped up to wrap a fresh bandage around her head. After a final check, the doctor straightened up and addressed them. "Given her condition, I suggest moving Melanie to a hospital for further observation and recovery." Beatrix was quick to refuse. "Absolutely not. A hospital is the last thing we need. Melanie will recover at home where she's comfortable, surrounded by familiar faces and people we can trust." The doctor tried to reason with her. "I understand your concerns, but Melanie's recovery might require medical attention that can only be provided in a hospital setting." Beatrix's refusal grew firmer. "No, she'll stay here. Whatever she needs, bring it here tomorrow. We can set up a makeshift recovery room if we have to. I'm sure we can find or order whatever a hospital has. Money is no issue." The doctor persisted. Even a short stay in a hospital could significantly aid her recovery process, and it would get her healed and back to normal much more quickly than any at-home measures. She'd have around-the-clock care. Even if it's for a couple of days, I think it would be incredibly beneficial. Beatrix's mind raced. If Melanie goes to a hospital, they might find the drug in her system. They could put her in an involuntarily hold or send her to rehab. The scandal could make the family even more of an embarrassment, and it would all fall on me. I can't have that. I can't put the family or myself at risk like that. Beatrix reiterated, Melanie is not going to a hospital. We'll manage her recovery here. Realizing Beatrix wouldn't budge, the doctor finally gave in. Very well, I respect your wishes. I'll return tomorrow with the necessary equipment and medications. As the doctor left, Beatrix watched him go and her mind began to spiral. He knew. The mysterious man knew that Melanie could cloud my judgment, that she was the one person who could soften my edges. That's why he separated us in the first place. He used Melanie knowing she's my Achilles heel. Beatrix bitterly thought, why would he let her come here? Why didn't he warn me that she was coming? Beatrix's gaze turned to Melanie as her mind continued to spiral. Worrying about Melanie's well-being, it was like a chink in my armor. A soft spot that can be exploited by those looking to take me down. I need to maintain my edge and my clarity of vision. I can't let my guard down, not even for Melanie. It's cruel, perhaps, but it's the reality of surviving in this ruthless city. I have to remain unyielding, cold, as sharp as thorns, no matter how close the family bond is. Beatrix let out a heavy sigh as her thoughts became clearer. Once Melanie's healed, I have no choice but to send her back to Europe, away from the chaos that clings to the Coopers. It's for her own good, to shield her from the toxic environment that our father and the rest of the Coopers have created. The very environment that's bound to bring her down, and in trying to save her would inevitably drag me down as well. I can't let that happen. I fought too hard and climbed too high to be pulled, even if it's for Melanie. Erica's voice broke through Beatrix's thoughts as she asked, Beatrix, what do you think could have caused all of this? What kind of substance has the power to do such harm? What kind of person would want someone to suffer like this? Beatrix shortly replied, I don't know, but I assure you whoever is behind this will pay for it. As Erica nodded, Beatrix's mind spiraled. Olivia has played me for the last time. She's turned my own plan against me and used it to harm Melanie. She thinks she's so clever, always one step ahead. But this time, she's gone too far. Beatrix balled her arms into fists as she thought, no more being outsmarted. No more setbacks. This time, it's war. And I won't rest until I've had my revenge. Olivia will pay for what she's done to Melanie. Melanie's eyelids fluttered open slowly. Beatrix and Erica, noticing the subtle movements, rushed to Melanie's side, their faces etched with concern. In a weak, raspy voice, Melanie pleaded, Water, please, it hurts so much. Without hesitation, Beatrix grabbed a cup of water, holding it carefully to Melanie's lips as she took small, painful sips. Melanie, grimacing with each word, managed to ask, What's wrong with me? The pain, it's unbearable. I'd rather die than feel this any longer. What's wrong with me? What happened to me? Beatrix fought back tears as she looked at her sister. You're going to be okay, Mel. I promise you everything will be fine. Melanie continued to try to speak. It feels like my head is splitting open. Every sound, every light, it's like a knife twisting inside my brain. And there's this sharp, stabbing sensation behind my eyes. It doesn't stop, not even for a second. It's all-consuming. It's relentless, like my body, my skin, my brain, everything is at war with itself. And it's excruciating. There's this weight on my chest, making it hard to breathe. I can't live like this. No one can. I can't take it anymore. I can't. I just can't. Beatrix's heart ached with every word Melanie uttered. Seeing her like this, in so much pain, it's tearing me apart. I never wanted this to happen to her. I don't want to see her suffer like this. I can't bear it. I know it's hard, Mel, but you're strong. Stronger than you know. This pain, it's temporary. You'll get through this. Beatrix reassured her sister. Melanie's pain-filled eyes met Beatrix's. Please, make it stop. I don't know how much more I can take. Just make it stop. Make it stop. Beatrix continued to offer reassurance. You will get better, Melanie. Soon this will all be behind us and you'll be back to your old self. Just hold on a little longer, please. Beatrix's eyes brimmed with unshed tears. She refused to let those tears fall, determined to remain strong for Melanie's sake. Melanie reached out for Beatrix. Beatrix, can you make it better? Please make the pain stop. I need you to make it better. Beatrix took Melanie's hand in hers, squeezing gently. I will, Mel. I'll make it better, I promise. Beatrix leaned closer to Melanie. You're going to make a full recovery, Mel. I'll do everything in my power to ensure that. Melanie responded. I hope that's true, Beatrix. I really do. Melanie's strength waned and she began to drift in and out of consciousness. Beatrix's mind drifted as she made a vow to herself. This ends now. From this point on, I swear I'll protect Melanie no matter what it takes. No one and nothing will ever hurt her again, not while I'm here. Melanie has always been the one pure thing in this twisted family for me, and I've let her down. I'll never let her down again. I will protect her for anything and everything. I will destroy anyone, and I mean anyone, that comes for my Melanie. As Beatrix made her vows of revenge against everyone related to Olivia, the rest of New York City was buzzing with news about the Coopers. All over social media and news outlets, the story from the Nevins' party had gone viral. Last night's Nevin party took a shocking turn. Jake Nevin and a select group of friends decided to take the party upstairs, only to stumble upon a scene straight out of a tabloid's dream. Melanie Cooper, long absent from the social scene, was found in a compromising position, high as a kite in the company of an unidentified man, and surrounded by a plethora of drugs. What's the real story behind the closed doors of the Nevin party? Was it a drug-filled escapade? New York wants to know. Brett Cooper's hands shook with rage as he read the first paragraph of an article posted on one of the more popular news sites. He scrolled through his phone, each headline fueling his anger further. The Cooper family, no strangers to scandal, were back in the spotlight. Melanie, once known for her role in exposing her uncle Ryan Cooper's sordid affair with his own son's wife, had reignited the gossip mills. Brett fumed to himself, pacing back and forth. Unbelievable. Just when I thought we could regain some semblance of dignity, this mockery. I allowed Melanie to attend the party, and look how she repaid me. By getting high and turning the whole event into a circus? How could she be so reckless? So utterly thoughtless? He continued his tirade. I should have known better than to trust Melanie. She's always been a loose cannon, always finding new ways to tarnish our family name. But to embarrass herself and me like this at such a public event, it's unforgivable. With each step, Brett's anger grew. He stormed down the hall towards Beatrix's room. Beatrix, explain this disaster. How did you let our family name be dragged through the mud in this absolute shit show of a party? What were you doing? Where were you? You wanted her to leave the party so bad, but instead you let this happen? Can you or your sister do anything without it coming back to bite me? Beatrix, hearing the commotion, slowly eased out of the room, careful not to disturb Melanie. Her face was a mask of sheer agitation as she confronted Brett's rage. Lower your voice. You're going to wake Melanie. And before you blame me for the fiasco, remember who insisted on inviting Melanie in the first place? Beatrix hissed at her father. Who bought her a new dress just to carry out some sick plan to use your daughter for your own gain? None of this would have happened if it weren't for you, so don't get mad because you're surrounded by scandal. What else did you think would happen? Did you think you were going to get a Daddy of the Year award or something? Be serious. Brett's anger flared even hotter at Beatrix's defiant response. How dare you speak to me like that, Beatrix? I am your father, and you will show me the respect I deserve. Not defend your hazardous, selfish, chaotic sister who does nothing but make everyone's lives a living nightmare. Brett seethed. That's all she does. Destroy every family member in her path. And to think we shipped her off to Europe to hide her when really all we've done is make her worse. She's a liability that none of us should put up with anymore. The only chaotic and selfish one here is you, Beatrix shot back. Your arrogance and your selfishness are what harmed Melanie. It's your actions that cause everyone to suffer, not hers. You want to talk about respect? Respect is earned, not demanded. And as for being a liability, do you even know what you are? You're a cancer, Dad. One of many cancers in the Cooper family. So take a long look in the mirror because you're the one that's been eating away at this family from the inside out. Brett's voice boomed through the hallway. Move aside, Beatrix. I'll handle Melanie myself. Beatrix stood her ground. You're not getting anywhere near Melanie. You've hurt her enough already. Brett scoffed. You really think you can stop me? You can't stop me from doing anything. And don't pin Melanie's situation on me. Melanie is her own biggest problem. Although, quite frankly, she's becoming my biggest problem, too. She's this family's biggest problem. She's everyone's biggest problem, so step aside. Beatrix fired back. It was your plan. Your terrible, selfish plan to use Melanie to get close to Mark DeLillo. That's what's at the root of all this mess. Beatrix tried to contain herself. You thought parading your own daughter around would somehow grant us access to Mark's wells? You thought it would change everything about this family if she had slept with him? It was a desperate attempt at any sliver of chance of money, wealth, and status. It was disgusting and despicable. And it was you. It was all you. You should be ashamed. You never should have let her come to that party in the first place. Brett, red with rage at his daughter's accusations, raised his hand, preparing to punish his daughter with physical force. Beatrix, unflinching, locked eyes with him as his hand hovered in the air. Go on, Dad. Do it. Slap me. It'll give me all the reason I need to unleash everything I've been holding back. You seem to forget that the only reason the Coopers have any money is thanks to me. Without me and my work and my connections, you'd probably let us all starve. Suddenly, Brett and Beatrix heard a chilling, gut-wrenching scream from Beatrix's room. Ah! Beatrix's face twisted in horror as she sprinted towards her room, Brett trailing close behind. Bursting into the room, they were met with a harrowing sight. Melanie was on the floor, her body contorting in ways that seemed impossible, her limbs flailing widely as she convulsed in pain. Through her gritted teeth, Melanie cried out to Beatrix, Please, just let me die. It hurts. Everything hurts. I can't. Please. I don't want to hurt anymore, Beatrix. I don't want to hurt. What is happening? Brett collapsed to his knees. I had no idea it was this bad. I didn't realize what Melanie was going through. I just had no idea. Brett stammered. Beatrix shot back. That's because you were too wrapped up in your own schemes to notice your daughter's suffering. You can't see anyone outside of yourself, not even your own daughter. Beatrix bent down, attempting to soothe Melanie, but her sister's agony was too overwhelming. Melanie, lost in her pain, thrashed violently, her teeth sinking into Beatrix's shoulder, breaking the skin. Beatrix let out an involuntary yelp of pain. Despite the sharp sting, she tried to mask her discomfort. Mel, it's going to be okay. We're here for you, Beatrix whispered. Melanie, however, was beyond consolation, her agony manifesting in another ear-piercing scream. Ah! At the sound, Erica hurried into the room, followed by the doctor, who was just returning to the house. What happened? The doctor demanded. Beatrix explained. She just screamed out of nowhere. We found her on the floor like this. The withdrawals she's experiencing are severe. Melanie is in excruciating pain. At this point, the best course of action is to sedate her. It's the only way to ensure she doesn't feel the pain her body is going through. The doctor explained. Then do it. Give her the sedative. Whatever's necessary to stop her pain, do it. Beatrix responded. Nodding, the doctor prepared the sedative, his movements swift and precise. As he administered the medication, the room held its breath, watching Melanie closely. Slowly, the violent tremors that had wrecked Melanie's body began to subside. The sedative took effect, her screams fading into soft whimpers, and then silence. With careful, coordinated movements, Beatrix and the doctor gently lifted Melanie up, placing her back on the bed, her body limp from the sedative. Brett turned to Erica. I had no idea Melanie was in such bad shape. Why didn't anyone tell me? You're not exactly known for being the best listener, Brett, Erica replied. Brett's concern deepened. She shouldn't be suffering like this. She needs to be in a hospital or something. Beatrix interjected sharply. Trying to be a good father now? It's a bit too late for that, and no, Melanie won't be going to any hospital. She'll recover here at home. The doctor, looking concerned, addressed Beatrix. Do you know if Melanie had a drug addiction? She's displaying severe withdrawal-like symptoms, indicative of either an extremely potent substance that's not meant for human consumption or a deep-rooted battle with substance abuse. It's crucial that I know the full extent of her relationship with substances to treat her appropriately. Beatrix shifted uncomfortably. I'm certain Melanie doesn't have a substance abuse problem. That's not like her. And I have no idea where she would even get drugs. The doctor pressed on. Are you sure? Because her symptoms are consistent with those of a drug addict. Brett listened intently to the exchange between Beatrix and the doctor, a growing sense of realization dawning on him. Of course something was off with Melanie, and it had to be drugs. I can't let another scandal, another shameful episode brought on by my daughter drag me down. No, I won't let Melanie's issues become my downfall. Not again. The doctor looked from Melanie to Beatrix, starting to sweat. These women really wanted him to risk his job to treat someone illegally. He didn't put it past them to hide the truth from him. He felt extremely conflicted. On the one hand, the less he knew, the better. But on the other, he would risk letting this young girl suffer if he didn't know the full extent of what had happened to her. I know we are not taking her to the hospital. The doctor spoke in a calm and measured tone. I already agreed to that. Now you have to tell me what she took so that I can help her to the best of my ability. This could be life or death. Beatrix felt her palms sweat and her heart race. She knew she would be risking a lot by telling the doctor the truth. But what other choice did she have? It's cyanil. Beatrix calmly stared the doctor down. Melanie is going through withdrawals, but this was an accident. She did not know what she was taking, and I think she was forced to take it. The doctor's eyes widened when he heard Beatrix mention cyanil. He shook his head nervously. I suggest that it would be best for her if she is sent to a drug rehab. This is not my expertise. I can't treat a cyanil addict. No, Beatrix and Brett shouted at the same time. Beatrix took a breath, trying to calm herself, but growing impatient. She is not an addict, and she does not need rehab. I don't want my sister to get held anywhere against her will, and I don't want anyone to report her to the police. You will treat her here, in our home. Yes, Brett chimed in aggressively. No matter how much it costs, she can't go to rehab. Word will get out that the Coopers have a drug addict, and it will be a stain on my life I won't be able to get rid of. Absolutely not. Beatrix shot her father a look of disgust. You're inhumane. She looked back to the doctor. I know you're worried about word getting out if you help us, but I swear to you, we will keep your involvement completely secret and it will not cause you any trouble. The doctor still hesitated, looking between her and her father, then at poor Melanie. He removed his glasses, rubbed his eyes, and replaced them. Beatrix knew how she could speed this up. 1 million. The doctor was stunned. What did you say? Beatrix was calm. If you can get the drug out of my sister's body, the $1 million is yours. His jaw dropped, but he shook his head. This is 2 million. Beatrix replied. Make her better, and $2 million is yours. If you agree, $500,000 will be transferred to your account today. The rest will be sent to you when she is healthy. The doctor blinked, even more stunned. I won't someone think that payment is suspicious? We will take care of it. We have people who can make sure nobody finds any issue with it. Beatrix answered. She spoke immediately, with such casual assurance, that the doctor did not question whether she really did have the power to do so. The doctor gritted his teeth and closed his eyes. He nodded. Okay, I will do it. Beatrix smiled slightly. She knew that money could make most people brave. She had seen it happen countless times. Though Brett had been gung-ho about keeping the doctor quiet, now that the price was $2 million, he gulped. That sounded like too much. He doubted whether it was worth it. He thought that there must be a cheaper way to do this. Beatrix was just being impulsive. The doctor folded his arms, beginning to form a plan. Cyanil is a new substance, and its withdrawals are catastrophic. If you want to get it completely out of her system, it is useless to just rely on sedating her because it's too powerful and too painful. She has to will her way through this. He looked seriously at Beatrix. You need to help her through this when she is awake. Beatrix nodded. Of course. The doctor sighed. Also, you need to keep all sharp objects out of the room, in case she tries to hurt herself. We need bandages and medicine on standby to treat her as soon as possible. Because the symptoms are so intense and painful, a patient in withdrawal will tend to attempt suicide. He leaned over, inspecting Melanie's head. The gauze that Beatrix had wrapped her with had come loose as she struggled, and blood seeped through its edges. Yes, Beatrix whispered. We will have all the supplies we need. The doctor frowned. I also need blood samples to determine how much cyanil is still in her system now and how far we have to go. Beatrix hesitated. The doctor sighed. Don't worry. I will do everything I can to keep this in the utmost secrecy. All of her information will be protected. Beatrix nodded. Yes, I trust you. As long as it was for Melanie's good, she decided she would do as this man said. She was paying him enough. He should be loyal. The doctor tapped his fingers. There are still more things that I need that we haven't discussed. This will be expensive. We're basically setting up a treatment center from scratch. You don't have to worry about money, Beatrix assured him. As long as it's necessary to help my sister, we'll pay for it. But, Brett jumped in. He was worried that this situation was becoming a bottomless money pit. In a split second, Beatrix turned an angry glare on him. Under the force of her gaze, Brett was stunned into silence and shut his mouth. He did not want to get himself into an argument with his daughter that he could lose, especially when there was an outsider around. I'll bandage her head again, and then let's stop for now to gather what we need, the doctor said, focusing on Melanie instead of Beatrix and her father. Sounds good. Beatrix nodded, taking her time to tear her angry eyes away from Brett. The doctor gently but expertly got to work on Melanie's bandages. Erica, who had been silent all this time, stepped lightly to Beatrix's side. She eyed the bite wound on Beatrix's shoulder. Beatrix, why don't you let the doctor bandage you too? I'm fine. Beatrix shook her head dismissively. But you're bleeding. Erica's eyes were red. Her concern for Beatrix was not an act. The doctor spoke without looking up at Melanie. Ma'am, you can just clean your daughter's wound, but do it thoroughly. Human bites are among the most dangerous. I will leave behind something for you to use. Erica nodded. Thank you, doctor. After he finished, the doctor left the Cooper family for the time being. Beatrix sat by Melanie's side and carefully tucked in the blanket around her. Brett whirled on his wife and daughters pacing around them. This is a bottomless pit. How much money are we putting into this? Why don't we just let her work it out of her system? Erica frowned. Brett. He held his hands out to Erica. Come on, she was at the party because she was supposed to save us with Mark DeLillo. But now she's become this huge scandal for us? Nobody's going to look her in the eye after this, and I don't like sinking $2 million into another ungrateful daughter. Beatrix looked at her father with ice in her eyes. How about this, Dad? If you dare touch Melanie or interfere with her treatment, I will bury you and everyone else in the Cooper family. Brett's eyes widened. How dare you say that to me? What are you thinking? Beatrix didn't flinch. Do you really want to find out? Brett was silenced by her retort. Beatrix waved him away. Get out of my sight. I'm worried about what I'll do if I have to look at you any longer. Brett gritted his teeth. You ungrateful little... Listen, and listen carefully. I will not pay a single cent. Brett turned on his heel and walked out of the room. Erica shook her head as she followed Brett out of the room, but he turned angrily to her in the hallway. Look what you gave birth to, he whispered fiercely. A beast and an embarrassment. He stormed downstairs and Erica watched him go. She was stunned to hear her husband and the father of her children say everything he had said. Erica returned to Beatrix's bedroom. Seeing Beatrix sitting over Melanie, bandaged and unconscious, her heart was heavy. Why did these things all happen to my daughters? She wondered silently to herself. Is it really their fault? Beatrix turned to her mother with a gentle gaze, but spoke flatly. So what do you think? Is it too much to pay for the cost of your daughter's life? I'm going to clean your wound, honey. Erica walked to the dresser where the doctor had left a bottle of antiseptic. We don't want you to get infected. I can do it. You can leave. Beatrix gestured to the door. Beatrix. Erica's eyes filled with tears. Mommy wants to help you. Beatrix sighed. If this was 10 years ago, I would be very touched. But now, forget it. Erica lowered her head. Honey, it is my fault. I neglected you both. I'm so sorry. I really do feel so guilty. It's like this huge weight on my chest. Save your tears. Beatrix's voice was still emotionless. It has been so many years. We needed you before, but we do not need you anymore. Erica blinked, still crying. But Beatrix, I want to explain. I just don't know where to start. Beatrix shook her head. No matter what you say, you can't give us the love we needed from you then. And now, she looked straight at Erica, her eyes devoid of any kindness. We do not need a mother anymore. Beatrix continued to stare icily at her mother, her resentment growing by the minute. If you are asking for me to soothe your conscience about what you did, I won't. Beatrix narrowed her eyes. Did you just find the guilt too hard to bear? So you want me to make your life easier now? Erica wanted to say yes, to beg for relief from the creeping guilt over the past few years, about how she treated her daughters and everything she prioritized instead of them. She wanted Beatrix to take that all away from her and give her peace. But she knew when she saw Beatrix's cold, disdainful eyes that she could not say yes. Beatrix sneered. So what are you doing here? Seeking forgiveness for your dereliction of duty as a mother? Or were you hoping I could tell you it wasn't as you remember? That you actually were there for us and did a good job? Erica shook her head. Beatrix, you misunderstood me. Beatrix interrupted. I have given you countless opportunities to change any of it. But what did you do with those opportunities? What you care about is getting your husband to the top of the Cooper family. What you want is a good reputation and money and fame. When did you ever care about Melanie and me? Erica felt like she had to figure out how to say something, anything in response to Beatrix's question. You're right. I was like that in the past, but it wasn't like I completely forgot about you. I do really love both of you. Beatrix narrowed her eyes. But it's far from being able to compare to how much you love yourself, isn't it? You only cared about yourself. From the very beginning until now, you've always been like that. No! Erica was sure that there must be some way she could defend herself, but the words weren't coming to her. Beatrix looked at Melanie. Don't try to play the role of a kind mother in front of me anymore. You just want a clear conscience and feel better. You still don't care about us. You never changed." Erica shook her head desperately. No, I want to change. I really do." "Get out," Beatrix ordered softly. "Melanie needs a good rest while she can get it. Please leave." Erica pressed her lips together as they trembled. Then I will leave. You must remember to put the medicine on your wound." Beatrix did not turn back to look at her mother. Erica quietly left the room. Beatrix gently held one of Melanie's hands with both of hers. She raised it to her lips and set it back down on the bed. "Melanie," she whispered, "how good would it be if there were only the two of us in this world?" Melanie frowned in her sleep. Beatrix wondered if she was dreaming or in pain. "Don't worry," Beatrix told her. "It will all be okay. Don't be afraid. Your big sister is by your side. As long as you have me, we will have enough. I will protect you for the rest of your life. I will never let anyone hurt you again." Beatrix set her jaw, looking down at Melanie. She remembered all of the times as they grew up that she was unable to protect her sister, or the times that she was most ashamed of when she prioritized taking care of herself when she knew her sister was suffering. Both of them were just children, but she was always older. She was always stronger. She had more strength and more cunning. She swore that from then on, she would do her best to keep the promise she just made to protect Melanie for the rest of her life. She would do it no matter what kind of price she had to pay. She would never stop hunting anyone who had hurt Melanie Cooper. Across the city, on the top floor of the Park Company building, Olivia suddenly felt a chill crawl up her back and up through her neck, so that her hair stood on end. It was as if she had suddenly been locked onto the cold gaze of some venomous reptile. Like a dangerous snake was staring at her, ready to strike. "What's wrong?" Violet asked, having noticed Olivia freeze as they worked. "Are you not feeling well?" Olivia touched the back of her neck. "No, it's nothing. I feel fine." Violet checked her watch. "You should eat something. What would you like?" "I'm not hungry yet." Olivia looked at the documents before her, shaking off the odd feeling. "Just ask Morgana what I want to eat. She somehow always knows." Morgana looked up from her phone on the sofa. "I want noodles, but like fried, lo mein with tofu, no, shrimp." "Oh, I think Olivia wants soup. Like a wonton soup? And get the extra large portion." Olivia lifted her head. "Wow, now I am hungry. How did you know that's exactly what I want?" Morgana shrugged. "I don't know, but if you can't finish it, I'd figured I'd help you eat the rest. Don't worry, not a drop will be wasted." She turned back to the game on her phone with a smile. Violet blinked. "But how did you know she wanted wonton soup?" Morgana's mouth hung open a little at her screen. "Because it's what I wanted." She looked up and smiled at them. "It's all about the power of a suggestion." Olivia laughed. She helplessly shook her head and looked at Violet. "Well, you heard the lady. Lo mein with shrimp for her and wonton soup for me." Violet laughed as well as she nodded. "Okay, you got it." She had come to really love the odd dynamic Olivia had with Morgana. As Violet left Olivia's office, she saw Jeff Dreyer approaching her from down the hall. "Hello, Vice President Dreyer. I can already tell you're having an unusually anxious day, even for you." Jeff shook his head absent-mindedly. "Well, I do have something I need to talk to Olivia about." He stopped walking and looked up at her. "Are you ordering lunch?" Violet raised an eyebrow at him. "I am ordering lunch for Chairman Johnson, yes. Why? Were you expecting me to get you something?" Jeff huffed indignantly. "Well, I thought you might at least ask me." Violet's mouth twitched into a smirk. She had never been an assistant and hated a lot of the aspects of pretending to be one. But one of the biggest was the other executives, whom she didn't respect as much as Olivia, treating her like she was at their beck and call. "Oh, I see," she said like she was understanding something. "I didn't ask you because I do not care." "Hey!" Jeff frowned. You, even if you don't respect me, you need to respect my position." Violet turned to leave. Don't you have your own assistant, Mr. Vice President? I think they're more than capable of ordering lunch for you. I'm busy. Wait! Jeff called out. Violet stopped walking away and looked back at him. Miss Cartwright, do you dislike me? Do you have some sort of bias against me? Violet looked Jeff up and down. How presumptuous of you. Can you call it a bias if it's just me acting on things about you that are completely true? Jeff frowned. Like what things? Violet smiled, enjoying getting a rise out of him. You tell me. Or maybe I'm just playing games with you. But you're a little old to know anything about those. Jeff's cheeks flushed. I oversee a lot of our business with Confluence Technology. I have plenty of knowledge about games, all right? I don't know. Violet tilted her head, teasing him. Jeff Dreyer considers himself a rather cultured, well-mannered creature. Your position is too good for me to believe you would lower yourself to spend any of your time hunched over a console. Jeff frowned, helpless against her. Violet, I'm the vice president of the company. Come on. I'm your superior. Violet rolled her eyes. Oh, thank you so much for the company lesson, Mr. VP. But my superior is Chairman Johnson. Do you have something regarding the company to speak to me about? If not, I might have to get HR involved. Jeff waved his hand angrily. Forget it. I won't even dignify that with a response. Violet laughed. I'm surprised. You strike me as a guy who enjoys feeling degraded. Jeff's mouth fell open and he was about to respond when Olivia's door opened. Morgana leaned her head out. Olivia asked me to find out what you two are fighting about. Nothing, Jeff said quickly. Miss Cartwright, please remember to bring me something for lunch. Violet looked angry. Great. I will bring you something that I know you will enjoy. Jeff enjoyed having a slight upper hand now that they were in earshot of Olivia. And Miss Cartwright? I'm meeting with Chairman Johnson, so whatever you bring me, you can just give it to me when I'm with her. Violet wanted to stamp her foot, knowing that Jeff was just foiling her plan to give him something weird. Of course, thank you, Mr. Vice President. Jeff walked into Olivia's office with a huge smile on his face, while Violet strode away, an angry look on hers. Jeff entered Olivia's office with a vindictive look on his face. He had to admit that besting Violet had become one of his favorite parts of his day. Each morning when he arrived at work, he had found himself looking forward to another one of their verbal sparring matches. Jeff, you seem to be in a good mood, Olivia commented as Jeff Dreyer walked into her office. She already knew that this was about Violet. Really? Do I? Jeff smiled, pretending not to know what Olivia was talking about. It's probably just because the publicity for the game is going so well. Even better than we expected. Even better than expected, huh? Olivia smiled. That does warrant a very good mood. Indeed it does, Jeff grinned. So I came to take care of a few things. Yes, take a seat. Olivia gestured towards a chair for Jeff to sit down. Jeff sat opposite Olivia and leaned forward enthusiastically. We need to work out the last few contracts with the Jarabaldis since they are chief investors in the game. We also need to talk to Confluence about final licensings for the characters in the game. All right, I will make a trip over to Confluence later today, Olivia decided. Great. Jeff nodded. Do you need me to go with you? No, that won't be necessary. Violet will accompany me, Olivia answered. Jeff frowned when he heard Violet's name. What is it? Olivia asked. She could practically feel Jeff's jealousy emanating from his face. What is his deal? She wondered. This Pride and Prejudice dynamic is such a roller coaster. Nothing. I just worry that you might be too dependent on her, Jeff said carefully. He had grown fonder of Violet Cartwright, but he still did not entirely trust her. She is a very good assistant, but Jeff thought back to his uneasiness about Violet's dynamic with Mark DeLillo. Seeing the wheels in Jeff's mind turn, Olivia decided to use her powers to dip into his mind and find out what he thought about Violet once and for all. Could she be a triple agent, working for Mark but pretending to be following Olivia's plan to trick Mark into trusting her? How do we know whose side she's really on? Olivia heard Jeff wonder to himself. When it comes to business, the person who can most effectively stab you in the back is usually the one person you trust the most. Olivia smirked, realizing how much Jeff cared about her and the part company. Don't worry, Jeff. Violet is a trustworthy person. Olivia smiled reassuringly. Well, best to be extra cautious in everything. No one ever regrets being too careful. Jeff sighed. Jeff didn't want to overstep his advice to Olivia, but he still felt like this was a reminder worth repeating. He really did not want Olivia to get hurt in the future, especially by someone close to her. I understand, and thank you for the reminder. You have nothing to worry about on this one, Olivia said. She could not explain Violet's true identity, so she smiled and asked teasingly, Jeff, are you still upset that Violet told everyone you were a vampire fan fiction fanatic? Ugh. Jeff frowned as he remembered the whole vampire fan fiction business. This is not about that. But I will say, Violet talks nonsense all the time. Everyone knows she's very unreliable as a source. It's very irritating. Is that so? Violet said as she stepped through the door. She grinned to herself, knowing she had caught Jeff. If you're so much more reliable than me, why are you the one talking behind my back right now? You talked about me behind my back first. Jeff waved his hand dismissively. Never mind, I don't have time for this. I'll just make it easy and say nothing. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Surely I'm not the only one who has learned that rule, right? Violet rolled her eyes. How dare Jeff say anything bad about me? She thought to herself. The nerve. Who does he think he is, talking about me while I can't defend myself? Jeff was stunned into silence. He hadn't expected her to return so quickly and was embarrassed he had been caught gossiping. Guys, settle down. Olivia waved her hand and said, Violet, I need to go over to Confluence later today. Can you reach out to them and see if they have time? Will do. Violet nodded. She gave Jeff some side-eye before leaving to get to her taxes. Jeff scratched the back of his head. Fine, that's fine. She can glare at me if she wants. I don't care. He mumbled to himself. I don't have time for petty disputes with an assistant. You'll need to double-check the most recent numbers with Confluence while there. Right, Olivia agreed. Jeff discussed other serious details with Olivia and threw himself completely into work mode, not thinking about Violet at all. Meanwhile, Violet contacted the relevant parties at Confluence. When she came back to Olivia's office, she saw Jeff thinking through and expressing his opinions on the matters at hand. Violet could not help but smile slightly. Jeff is actually kind of handsome when he talks business, Violet observed in her mind. Violet, Morgana said as she put down the game controller in her hands. They had received a call from the lobby that lunch was ready. Morgana had been playing games all morning and felt tired and hungry. Before she finished the rest of her sentence about lunch, Morgana noticed that Violet's gaze looked off. Hey Earth to Violet. Morgana cupped her hands around her mouth to better project her voice. Lunch is here. Violet suddenly snapped out of her daze and looked at Morgana. Why are you looking at me like that? Oh, no reason, Morgana said as she sat up on the sofa. I just sensed the sour smell of love in the air. What are you talking about? That's ridiculous. Violet scoffed. Her face turned slightly red. I'm just hungry. Starving, actually, Morgana said mournfully. Violet saw that it was noon. Every day, Morgana would shout that she was hungry at the same time on the dot. Just then, Lily Miller knocked on the door and walked in with their lunch order. Miss Johnson, lunch is here. Thank you, Lily, Olivia casually replied. I've got it from here. Violet reached out and took the bags from Lily. And it's Chairman Johnson, not Miss? Oh, okay. Lily nodded and smiled before she left. Violet closed the door behind her. Where would you like to eat? Over there on the table in front of the couch, Olivia directed. She originally did not feel that hungry, but when the smell of the food wafted from the hot containers, her stomach began to growl instinctively. Great, I'm starved, Jeff said as he stood. Olivia passed the hand sanitizer to Jeff and then turned to Morgana, who was about to start eating. Morgana, clean your hands off with sanitizer first. Oh. Morgana took a glob of sanitizer and vigorously rubbed her hands to make it dry faster. Olivia sat down on the sofa. Violet placed Olivia's wonton soup in front of her. It was a huge, steaming bowl with delicious-smelling ingredients. She could smell the fresh, thinly sliced ginger and minced garlic. Savory mushrooms, chicken, and shrimp bobbed in the broth among the plump wontons. Baby bok choy, scallions, and bean sprouts filled out the rest of the soup. Olivia was grateful to have the hot food in her hands. Wow, that looks pretty good, Jeff said as he eyed Olivia's soup. And this is for you, Jeff, Violet said as she handed Jeff's food to him. Jeff paused momentarily and looked at Violet warily before slowly opening the lid. I hope this isn't some kind of prank. Something too spicy or with nothing in it or something weird. Jeff opened his bowl, and it looked perfect. It was a hot, steaming bowl of hot and sour soup. Mushrooms, green onions, firm tofu, and bamboo shoots floated in a thickened broth that smelled of soy sauce, chili garlic, toasted sesame oil, and ginger. It even had an ample supply of extra egg ribbons. Jeff opened his mouth in surprise but had no words yet. He really had not expected Violet to get him precisely what he wanted for lunch. He looked at Violet but did not know what to say. Thank you, this is perfect. He felt really touched and could not hide it. Everyone could tell Jeff was stunned into rare sincerity by Violet's effort with the lunch. They all looked to Violet for her reaction. Great, you can Venmo me the amount. Violet smiled impishly. Everyone laughed at Violet's punchline. Okay, I take back my thanks, Jeff joked, grumbling. Everyone was relaxed and happy as they enjoyed their lunch. There was no such happy atmosphere over at the Cooper mansion. Beatrix remained at Melanie's bedside as she stewed with guilt towards herself and anger at the ones who had done this to her sister. Suddenly, a maid knocked on the door. What is it? Beatrix asked impatiently. She did not want any disruptions to Melanie's rest. The maid peeked her head in around the door fearfully. Miss Cooper, you have a visitor downstairs? Who could possibly be here to bother me now? Beatrix snapped at the maid, who shivered in place. The maid swallowed before answering tentatively. Mr. Mark DeLillo is here.